been an increasing focus on kids' mental health, especially since the pandemic. Now we're seeing evidence that teen girls are being hit especially hard when it comes to depression. So why is that the case, and how can we best help them? Bridget is standing by now with our Ask a Doctor.
According to a recently released report by the CDC, nearly 3 in 5 high school girls in the U.S. reported feeling persistently sad or hopeless at least 2 weeks during the past year. That's one criteria for depression. And that rate for girls is about double the rate compared to teen boys, as well as a nearly 60% increase over the last 10 years. We have licensed mental health counselor Shantala Boss joining us here again today. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. And you know, we've been talking about this dialogue of mental health more and more, creating more awareness. But when it comes to teenage girls, why does this seem to be such a dramatically different rate for them compared to, you know, their male counterparts?
Well, girls are more talkative, obviously. They have more communication. So number one, they're going to report feelings of sadness more than boys, also just because societal norms, they feel more comfortable doing that. But also they're in communication a lot more than boys are. And during the pandemic, there was very limited communication for every teenager. And that's the most important thing at their age and development. So they were susceptible more than ever to social media. And with all of the expectations placed on girls, all of the false appearances and information that comes through, they were saturated more than ever at that time. And now it's become a huge problem. Trying to limit or figure out where to put the constraints on social media is almost impossible for parents. It makes kids angry. So it's just becoming a real cycle of issues.
What can we do to manage it, you know, working with our teens, whether we're, you know, caregivers, parents, you know, working with them in school? How can we sort of look out for signs, symptoms, and sort of intervene?
Well, a lot of times we'll see our kids withdrawing, not coming out of their room, which is very normal for a teenager, but it's to the point where they're not interested in activities they once were. Maybe they have a change in friendships. Maybe they're changing their look or their eating patterns, sleeping patterns, grades drop. So you want to watch all the different environmental factors to see if maybe something is impacting our girls. Also anger, frustration, irritability. A lot of times teens show a lot of anxiety and depression through anger because they don't know how to show it. So we want to look for those signs and then just open up the conversation. It's hard as a parent because a lot of times we have to, you know, implement those rules and consequences. But if we can kind of step back for a minute from all of that and just see where they are, see what they're feeling, find out what is going on, and then help them problem solve it instead of putting a bunch of restrictions on them. Because if we do that, it's only going to backfire.
What are you doing though if they're stonewalling? What if they're just not, like, I don't want to talk or won't tell you what's going on, and you can obviously see something is wrong?
Well, a lot of times it's tough because parents, you know, have to implement those consequences. So teens will shut down because they don't want to tell them everything. And that's why it's good to have maybe a mentor or a counselor or someone outside that can talk to them and really help them open up and guide them. You know, the kids that I see, I tell them and their parents, unless they're in harm's way or there's a dangerous situation, there's a lot of information that I won't necessarily share with the parent. And the parents are okay with that because they need that safe place. But long-term goal is always to work with the family as a whole on communication and better ways of the girls feeling accepted and finding alternate ways of feeling good about themselves outside of the social media world.
Would you think that maybe checking in with a counselor a few times a year is something that is, you know, something to add to the routines with our teens?
I think that's a great idea. I think, though, it's very important, especially for teens and young children, that they develop a relationship with a counselor first. So they would need to come in regularly for a couple months at least, and then they come back and check in as needed. But it is important to build that relationship up front initially to build trust and just kind of have a safe place for them that they know they can go.
So how can we convince them to give it a try?
Well, counseling can be a lot of fun. You know, we do a lot of fun things. I have a summer camp I run, so just telling them it's actually just a place to talk about your feelings outside of home. It's a place where you can get problems problem solving done and there aren't consequences. So I think a lot of teens are actually really open to this, and there's a lot of information all over social media about mental health, which is positive and which is telling our girls more about seeking help. So that's a positive thing.
And I want to talk a little bit more about the social media. I mean, we touched on it. How do we manage that to where it can be a good thing and not a detrimental thing? Because there are mixed messages, you know, about social media and the amount we're using it and the things we're seeing on social media.
So important that we talk to our girls and look at their algorithms. You know, what is the main thing that they're seeing showing up? Because really, they don't understand that. Even we don't. We forget. We think this is just the way the world is. This is regular algorithm, maybe that's negative, or a sexualization of a woman, or whatever it may be. So talking to them about that, seeking out those things that are reliable sources. There's a lot of sources online that aren't reliable. They aren't professionals. They're just trying to get views, and girls will cling onto that, believe it, and identify with it. So we need to kind of educate them, look at things with them, be involved in that. It's very important.
Okay, great. And so where can we go for, you know, some more resources about, you know, working with our girls to make sure that they are healthy, whether it's physically, mentally, and all those issues?
I really like Psychology Today. It has a lot of information about mental health and also resources for mental health.
All right, Shantala, great to see you.
You too, Bridget.
We'll have you back again to talk about some more issues.
Thank you.
All right, back over to you, Julie.
Bridget,